Hello, and welcome to MentorDINO. I'm your host, Katelyn Rossier. I am an architect and founder of MentorDINO. I firmly believe that architecture, engineering, and construction professionals can achieve true success by embracing human skills as their guiding principle. So each week, I interview amazing professionals in and around the AEC industry as a way to share stories, inspiration, and advice for others finding their own unique career path. Thank you to all of our current subscribers, and if you're new, we'd love to have you join our community. So if you like this episode, please do me a favor and hit subscribe, like, or leave a comment below. It really helps others be able to discover this resource and support them on their own career journey. So let's dive in. I really hope you enjoy this conversation. Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the MentorDINO podcast. I'm your host, Katelyn Rossier. We were happy to share 61 episodes in Season 1 and taking a small break before Season 2 begins. During this break, I'm giving you some topic-specific highlights based on various advice discussed in Season 1. Feel free to go back to those episodes to learn more about their stories. And don't forget, Season 2 kicks off February 13th. Now let's dive into this week's topic. This one, I'm jumping into starting your own firm. And I talked to a number of entrepreneurs throughout Season 1. And so I'm grabbing 5 this time just to talk about different aspects of starting your own firm. Some professionals, when they graduate college, say they'll never start their own firm, and then they end up doing so themselves. Or circumstances lead them down a path that it is the only option for them, no matter what's going on with the climate, what constraints there are throughout. And again, these are only 5. It was really hard to pick these 5, but I wanted to make sure we hit different sides of the emotional roller coaster that you go through when deciding if it is the right time to start your own firm, if you've got the confidence to do so, if you've got the client base to step forward, and where to even begin. So I'm going to start off with introducing you guys back to Gloria Kloter. She was episode number 3. So very early on in my podcast Season 1. It was actually released towards the end of 2022. But Gloria, we talk about her journey overall being from outside the United States and being licensed out of the United States, and then coming to the States, getting her license to be able to work and practice over here, and eventually starting her own firm to be able to have her own control of her career, but also managing starting a family and being able to do some great architecture. So this clip, I pulled in some advice for owners just starting out or looking to start their own journey, or in those first years that can be kind of tough. So check out Gloria's episode. Again, it was number 3, and hopefully you guys enjoy this clip.
The same way, the reason why I mentioned this story is because the same way that happened to me, it happens to a lot of people. Because one of the things that most of immigrant architects experience is that they come to the States and there's no one else around them, no friends or family that work in architecture that can guide them through the correct process. So it takes a little bit for most of them to actually figure things out, because most of the time, nobody around you knows anything about this one career.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for firm owners that may be hiring their first foreign architect and they may not know the process? Do you have any advice for firm owners?
I think the main thing is paying attention to their strength in the matters of graphic design, architectural design itself, and then helping them on, I feel the things that sometimes we need help the most is like building codes, research, understanding zoning codes, how that works here. And then I think sometimes trying to expose them to certain opportunities, I will call, where they can develop certain skills in the States, like, for example, let them handle meetings in front of you, because they might have been really good back in their home country, but it's very different when you're doing it in a second language. And this is a good example to take. When I was back in the DR, I was a professor in an art school, and I was teaching architectural design. I was teaching architectural drafting, and I love talking in front of people. I was very confident. It was just like I don't know, it was like my home. I usually was handling between like 20 to 30 students at a time. And this is all on the side of my architectural practice, right? Then I come to the States. And when I was in this previous job, I felt very terrified to be in front of clients, especially because one, it felt like it was their clients, not mine. Some makes sense. It's like, oh, I'm going to do something wrong. They're going to fire me.
Well, especially you owning your own firm. I completely understand that, because before that was your first baby, was that firm. And then when you're going and working for somebody else, it doesn't feel as much your own.
Yes.
So definitely understand that.
And then like, that's a good point that you bring up. It's like that I didn't feel that ownership with certain things, because there was always someone else being the first contact of that client. And then I was handle the client, but I didn't, it never felt like, oh, this is a contact I made and I'm bringing this one client to the house and it's like my client, and I nurture this client the way I see fit, because based on my personality is the reason why they actually came to the company. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like when I have a business now, this is how it happens, but that's not how it was happening when I was in that other job that I had. And I feel that will have been really great for me. Like if I will have been exposed more to like presentations, which they did at the end. But I think like I spent 4 years where I could have been doing that like from year one, So I think that's one thing, because it will help you to like lose that fear of like public speaking, and kind of master, like the more you do it, the better you get.
Yeah. All about practice.
Yes. And I think besides that is the part of like understanding that some immigrants can feel very lonely they might have family and friends with them. They might not. Like all my immediate family is back in the DR. My mom, my dad, my sister, brothers, all that. I have family in the States, but like they live like in New York or like, other states. So it's not that they're like right here. So like my family now is my husband's family. Like his mom and his dad are like my mom and my dad now. And not everybody has that. I'm very lucky, very blessed to have that in my life. But like a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people may have even a bad relationship with, their spouses, families, which is not my case. But like my point is, if you have an immigrant architect in your company, like think about that extra step of like, how can you make them feel welcome? How can you help for them to feel like part of the team, and kind of like find out if like for holidays they have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they might not have a place to be on Thanksgiving. I don't know. Like it's just things to think about.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed Gloria's advice. Now I want to jump into introducing you guys to Chad Holler. He was episode 53, so a lot closer to this episode airing. And most of his episode, we really talk about starting your own firm and his journey and experience through that. So I definitely recommend, if you are starting your own firm or thinking about it, check out his full episode, because we really hit all sorts of different facets and areas, even fees, and discussing how he manages projects, because he does both residential and commercial work. But the clip I'm bringing forward to you is actually a little bit about our discussion about leaving your firm. It can be really hard to leave the current firm you're in when looking to start your own. And especially if you don't have projects exactly lined up, it can be scary and risky not knowing where your paycheck's going to come from. And oftentimes when people start their own firm, it's not because we hate the current firm that we're in. We're just looking for that different challenge. There is an opportunity that presents itself to try out having your own firm or partnership. And so this clip, we talk about leaving the firm, because he did not leave his firm cold turkey, because he also had somebody else within his firm that was leaving with him, that they were starting a partnership. So In this clip, we talk about kind of a different path that I didn't think of if you're looking to leave your current firm and how you can help your firm out so they don't have struggles finishing out the projects you are working on, but also giving you a little bit more of that runway whenever you start out with opening up your own firm. So hopefully you guys enjoy this clip from Chad Holler. Again, he was episode number 53. Do you have any advice for leaving that firm on a good note when there's multiple people leaving? Because it wasn't just you, it was you and Jim that firm was losing.
That was one of the more difficult things I've ever had to do in my profession, because to this day, I have so much respect for the bosses I had there. I learned a ton while I was there, and I was treated really well there. So it wasn't really that I was leaving a place I was unhappy. It was more that I was seeking my own, going after my own aspirations, my own goals. It's not an easy thing to do. I think all you can really do is try to make that transition as easy as possible. When we left, my business partner, Jim, was the project manager, and I was the job captain on a pretty major addition to a private school in the metro here. I think a 20 million plus project. And so it was a big blow to the firm at that time, because we were right in the middle of the project. But fortunately, our bosses were really great about it. They had done a similar thing on their own. We were able to work together with them, that we would continue to work on contract as we started the firm, help them get that project done and out the door, and sort of transition our way out. And so really that turned out to be a win-win, because we got the project done for them, but it also gave us a big kind of steady source of income to start the firm. So it was really best case scenario for us. I think it's probably unlikely that every case is going to be that way, but it's certainly worked out well for us. And I think at the end of the day, when it comes to professional decisions, you have to do things that are in your best interest, but you also want to do it in a way that's as professional and as possible, and try to help that transition as best you can.
Yeah. And it's great advice too, because then it helps others understand it doesn't have to be cut and dry. And just if there's a project getting completed and you need some more time, at least offer that availability to help finish that project. So a firm's not in a bind to get a project done. Like, you're still working on it while you're also working on the business, but pulling back on hours is a great opportunity. Your firm could have said, no, get lost. But at least they were amenable to, hey, you guys are a great team and let's keep this up, and understanding where they were when they started the firm. It's a lot like when we all start our careers. You forget where you started sometimes. So I appreciate that they could reflect back on that and how they started.
Yeah. And reflecting back on it, especially as a business owner now, I know how difficult that would be for us if that happened to us. But I think that experience helped me a lot to understand that this is a profession, and people are going to come and go. People have to pursue what they're passionate about. And if that's not where they're at, then you have to respect that and try to support them if you can, and make sure that departure is, amicable. And, I always say in situations like that, if you can come out the other end and still be friends, that's a great, ending to that relationship. So.
Yeah. 'Cause you never know when you're going to work together, or merge firms, like predicting crazy futures. You never know.
Yeah. And even, there's been times where they've gotten too busy and they've actually referred work to us, and vice versa. So I think at the end of the day, it worked out really well for everyone involved.
Yeah. All right. Hopefully you guys liked liked that clip from Chad. And again, go check out his full episode because I think we talk about starting a firm throughout the entire episode. But this time, I want to introduce to you guys Hype Studio, where I talked to Justin and Mike. They are owners of Hype Studio, so this is more of a partnership. And they do a little bit more of design build. And the clip I want to bring to you guys is more on the network and your value side. And no matter if you are starting your own firm or you're part of a firm jumping into leadership roles, or maybe you just got promoted to principal and you're trying to figure out what that means and how to bring in work, grow the firm that you're already at. This clip I'm bringing to you is really about growing your network and growing it in intentional ways, and also understanding your own value in that process. So growing your network is not always just being around a bunch of architects. It's where are your clients coming from? If you're doing residential work, you may need to go talk to more contractors, because typically Americans are going to find a builder before they find an architect, because they don't typically know what architects do and when to pull them in. So maybe your networking needs to be more on the builder side. Or there are other organizations where owners are going to be around. So if your firm focuses on healthcare, maybe you need to go to more healthcare organizations that are oriented on bringing together not only architects, designers, contractors, but also those owners. So hopefully you guys enjoy this little clip from Hype Studio and learning how to grow your network and advocate for your value. But their episode was fantastic as well and had a great conversation with them. So feel free to also check out their full episode. Their episode is number 38. And again, here is Justin and Mike with Hype Studio.
As we started doing a little bit more construction management, that we were allocating, it wasn't just Justin and I. Education just in general is important to us within the studio. If there's something that one of our guys is unfamiliar with, then we make sure we take the time to walk it through and to explain what our rationale is behind things. And to the same extent, we'll have one or two of the guys involved with each construction project, and we go through that same process of, this is what we're going to do, this is why we're going to do it. We try not to throw them in at the deep end in a way where they're kind of fighting for their lives, but there's a little bit of kind of just giving them a lot of responsibility,
and to know that they have a lot of responsibility. There's a team behind them, or there's principals behind them that are there for support.
Yeah.
And we're not just telling them what needs to be done. We're asking them to be creative, or to talk with a sub, to talk with a metal fabricator about the details and what the design intent is, and if they do need help, that we're obviously right here, but it's an opportunity for them to learn and grow. And I think the team has, grown dramatically through the construction projects that we've overseen. And
yeah. Do you have any advice for someone looking to focus on high-end residential?
Yeah.
Get a shrink.
Get a shrink for your clients and a shrink for you.
Probably one for each, just not the same one.
Yeah.
I think it boils down to growing your network and growing your portfolio. I think getting out of the architecture field, out of the field from like a networking standpoint, and meeting people that are outside of that are in related industries or unrelated industries. I think we've only ever had 2 clients that were architects, and so it's like those aren't going to be your clients. Those aren't going to be the people that refer you, and so, we make it a point to meet with developers and general contractors and people in real estate, and then just out and about casually in life, whether it's, on the weekend at coffee, or, during the week at the gym, or, wherever it is that we're meeting people and growing the network there. And that way, I think, is really important, because I think you come out of school and you spent this really focused time with with other architects or other designers and that, and then you go work at a firm where that's what they all are as well. And I think if you let that be your experience, then you're missing out on, just so much education and growth that's out there that's beyond the realm of architecture that can feed back to it in all kinds of ways, whether it's education or clients, and so, and then building a portfolio, when I started out, we were doing small remodels, small additions, but with each one came an opportunity to either, do well for a client that would lead to something else, or a design opportunity, where it said, hey, we want something really cool here, really modern, or really something very thoughtful. And so, within each project, there's an opportunity to learn from that. Sometimes it's design, sometimes it's business, sometimes, it's all, planting the seed for what the future may become.
Yeah, I think early on, in the beginning, during the first year, I think we had about 25 projects going at any given time. And that was a lot. They were small projects, and now we have larger projects and maybe about 12. But I think there's sowing seeds for the future. One of our large homes that's under construction now, I think if we were to give a proposal for that job now, it would probably be about 5 times the price. But at the time, there was a business decision that was made, and a realization that we did the job for somewhat of a bargain, but as a portfolio piece, it would definitely kind of pay itself forward. And I wouldn't recommend undervaluing yourself at any time, but it was a business decision in order to kind of create portfolio, perhaps more in the luxury realm of architecture.
Yeah, but that's important to talk about value, because I find sometimes the solo entrepreneurs that I talk to have a hard time finding where their value is, because they don't want to lose the project. So then they try pulling themselves back, so then they seem more affordable. Or even on the commercial side, I see fees stay pretty low, and I'm like, why? This is going to take so much, or learn from your prior projects, so then you can get that fee adjusted to where it needs to be.
I think over the course, we've made a conscious decision to kind of grow our fee annually. And I think it's representative of, it is the value that we bring to any project. We've spent a long time getting to the stage where we can offer our clients the expertise that we carry. We've got a great team behind us. And there's just value in that. We're not overcharging anyone. We're just getting the fair value for the services that we provide.
And I think that gets back to the sort of the education that we do with clients at the beginning of a project. We present them with a proposal that breaks down the process, that breaks down, what consultants are going to be a part of the project, what their fee might be, even though we might not have a design yet. But
the big one in that, I think, is also deliverables. So they see hey, at the end of each part of it, we're giving you all this.
Yeah, mm-hmm. These are all the meetings that we'll have. These are all the iterations that we'll do, and really showing that whole, in a perfect world, one of our projects might take 6 to 7 months in design, and just forecasting that for them, and then they can see that, oh, holy cow, there's value to all of these meetings, to all of these updates, to things like that. And a lot of times our projects go beyond that, right? Projects that could be in design for a year, 2 years, and we don't ever like to do add services or change orders for our scope of work. We felt like we tried to outline as much as possible in the beginning and give opportunities for updates. But so, sometimes things go long, sometimes projects go dormant. And so just being able to have, really frank conversations with our clients at the beginning of the value that they're getting, the amount of work that it's going to take to get them to a project, to construction, And then that's almost the easy part, right? After that, you have to build it and deal with all the nuances of a remodel or a new build, or all of those things that come at that, right? Because there's one thing of drawing it, there's the other thing of building it.
Hopefully you enjoy the conversation with Mike and Justin. Now I want to introduce to you David Stumpf. He's actually local here in Pittsburgh with me, and he was episode number 41. And in his episode, we talk a lot about his career journey in dealing with recessions and what opportunities or lack of opportunities present themselves when you have long durations of time of a recession. A lot of professionals end up leaving the profession entirely, or they struggle to stay within firms and are let go just because of workload. And so we talk about how really starting a firm for him was to be able to stay being an architect and giving that opportunity for himself, because really until you own your own firm, that's the only way you can fully have control if you have your job or not. No matter who else you work for, no matter what career, you don't have full control of your career path if you're laid off or not, or what happens. And so this was a way for him to take control of his career. But the clip I'm going to actually give you is more about that confidence side. Sometimes when we are thinking about starting our own firm or going off on our own, imposter syndrome really starts to set in. Do I really know enough to start my own firm? And struggling with, you can't know everything as an architect. There's too many different facets. So how to gain that confidence before starting your own firm, and knowing you don't have to know everything, and having that community around you to be able to ask questions, continually learn, and be able to move forward to launch your own business, have more control of your calendar, have control of the clients, and be able to practice architecture when sometimes recessions can hold you back. But feel free to check out David's full episode, where we even talk about how to find clients, how to recognize the bad clients coming in, what lessons he's learned along the way with starting his own firm, and a little bit more about his career journey if you're struggling to stay a hold of different firms. So again, this is David Stumpf, and it is episode number 41. So hopefully you guys enjoy this clip.
Yeah, because commercial and residential are kind of two different animals.
They very much are. Yeah.
And so I more do the commercial side. So when I look at residential, I'm like, I feel like this should be simple, but it's completely different foundations, completely different detailing. And so it can be hard to flip between the two. Were there any particular experiences, since you talked about trying to get over imposter syndrome and build that confidence to start your own firm, were there any particular experiences between the commercial and residential that helped you build that confidence, or that aha moment?
I think it just came slowly. So coming out of the home builder, I felt like I had a lot of knowledge, and I didn't really have that imposter syndrome anymore. Because I was like, I'm around all these people that are putting this together. They're not any more smart than I am. I was a licensed architect, taking orders from a draftsman. Not that that's beneath me or anything like that. But I'm thinking to myself, I know exactly what you're doing. I know how to do your job. I know how to do this guy's job. So that helped quell that sense of imposter syndrome. But going to Dallas, I took a step back in my career, and I took an entry-level position because I couldn't find anything that I would fit into. I was a licensed architect, 2 years, essentially, with 2 years of experience. I got I think it's 7,500 hours of the IDP. It was IDP back then. It's AXP now, but I had that 7,500 experience before 2 years hit. And then that 3 months, I was like 2 years of experience as a licensed architect, probably having done more than a lot of people, because I went to a small firm with the notion of, I'm going to get a full breadth of experience. I'm not just going to be pigeonholed doing bathroom details. I was in client meetings. I was doing billing. I was doing proposals, all that kind of stuff. I was on projects from start to finish. going to the home builder. I was actually building the houses. So heading to Dallas, they brought me on as a staff architect and kind of just were like, we don't know what to do with you, so we're going to pigeonhole you here. And then I bounced around a little bit throughout. So I started working with their designers. Then I moved over to their construction documenting. And then eventually, before the pandemic, I was working with them in the CA process. But I might have gotten a little bit of the imposter syndrome there, or maybe even felt a little bit like I was having taken a step back in the career and kind of feeling like I wasn't being utilized to the best of my ability. But I knew that I was going to have to do that to then try and leapfrog forward again.
Yeah, because especially through tough economic times, when I graduated in 2014, there wasn't really any jobs. You're cold calling firms, and the first job to offer me a job is the one I took.
Yeah.
And that was my option. And then 2018, 19, people are getting like hiring bonuses, like, you're an NBA player. And I'm like,
right.
What is going on?
When I never had an internship in college because nobody would even answer the phone for you, even if you were offering free work. And then the AIA is saying, "Oh, we're going to reprimand you if you take on free interns." Kids need experience. I'm not condoning it, but I was trying to get the free experience if I could have. And nobody would even take me back then. And I cold called and I walked into every firm in the city, and I got told, "Get out of here, kid," by everyone. And even when I got out of grad school, not a single place in San Antonio took me seriously. And Peter was the only one who honestly was like, "Hey, yeah, I need help. Come on, work for me." And then when I went to Dallas was 2018. So it was right on the, like, we're coming back out of everything. Projects are going. And then Dallas is a boom town, and that firm worked in all the other boom towns. So they had enough space and they were doing big projects. So they were able to take me on. To be honest, my first salary was $40,000 with healthcare, no other benefit. The home builder was $50,000, no benefits. And then going to Dallas, it was $58,000, but I got nice benefits and healthcare and retirement, 401k, that kind of stuff. So I was good with that. But some of these kids nowadays are getting like real nice salaries coming out of school with no experience. And I just could not imagine that. That wasn't our experience.
No, I was in a very similar boat. I can't remember what my starting salary was, but it was in those ranges. But I did get a bigger jump when I did a hot stint at a contractor. That was a 50% pay bump. So that was
contractors and developers.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, contractors and developers are the ones who pay the best, which is a shame because that's why a lot of people are leaving our profession and they're chasing those, or even, UX designers. But it's looking like things are turning around for us slowly, but hopefully for the better. I remember I interviewed at a firm in Dallas, and they were like, the one guy, when I went to Dallas, I interviewed at 5 different places, and this is how I knew the place was a boom town. I got an offer from every single one. I worked with a headhunter, and she was like, "Oh yeah, she lined me up with all these different interviews. I went to all these different firms, which is also nice. And I recommend that for anybody who's doing that, like interview with multiple places, because then you get to see what their culture is and where you'll like to fit." But the one guy was telling me about the 80s and the boom in the architecture industry then, and like the bonuses they were getting. And I'm like, whoa, just don't rub that in, because this is just making me feel jaded. I'm like, there's no money in it right now. And then he's talking about, oh, we get $20,000 bonuses and a car. And I'm like, what? Yeah.
No, I'll take it. Let's get one of those booms.
Yeah. I'm like, wait a second. The 80s must have been nice.
And I am wrapping up this series on starting your own firm with Jenny Peysin. She is an architect out in New York City. And for her career, she started out more with small firms. So she had that more boots on the ground and the principal next to her to teach her a little bit more of the business side of architecture. And we talk about her opportunity to go off and start her own firm. And a lot like Chad, that had a different way of starting, and he actually stuck around with his firm. Jenny didn't stick around with her firm, but she took a little bit different of approach. And when she opened up her own firm, it was more like one of those co-op spaces where you have multiple companies within a zone. But for them, it was just two people or two companies. And so it was a friend of hers that had their own practice, and she was able to actually help the other practice out that was small. So sometimes when you are starting out small and trying to find work, you can connect with other small firm owners. They may not have the budget to hire somebody full time, but you can actually work more as a contractor to them and help them with their deadlines if it fluctuates where they have a lot of work coming in and you don't have enough coming in yet to pay yourself, to help make ends meet without you feeling like you have to go get a full-time job and starting your own firm. So it was a different dynamic for her starting out and opening her own firm, and actually had the opposite occur where she had a lot of work and the other professionals slowed down at some point and they were able to cross and work together as well. So it's been fascinating to just talk to so many small firm owners and how we're all here to help each other out. If you're looking for some help, reach out to other firm owners, see if they are busy or slow or could use some extra work, or if there's somebody you know that is looking to go part-time or switching up something in their career. They can always help you out in drafting if you are swamped. Don't feel like you have to do it all on your own, especially starting out. And if you do get a lot of work in, it's always great, but then you do have to complete the jobs as well. So hopefully you guys enjoy this clip from Jenny and learn a little bit more of a different approach to opening your own firm and getting started. So Jenny's episode is number 45, and hope you enjoy this clip.
I guess small firm or not, any firm really, you should try to take on as many different types of responsibilities as you can, especially if you plan on opening your own business. You end up doing all the things, so like if you're in a big firm, I think sometimes you can get like pigeonholed into doing one type of work. Whereas in a small firm, like you just end up doing everything. So, whether that's going to the site or sketching through schematic design ideas or selecting materials or looking for precedent images, like you just kind of you have your hand in all the little things. So I think, you should advocate for yourself if you're in a small firm and show that you can be proficient at doing all of the things, because that'll help you kind of get a broader knowledge base, which I think is what architects need is, we're kind of more generalists than specialists, in my opinion.
Yeah, because I always find whenever I was at smaller firms, I tended to wear more hats, and you get to kind of see behind the curtain more than in a larger firm. All depends on own personal experience with it. If you're sitting next to a principal of a large firm all day, every day, you're probably going to hear a lot more than sitting around with your teams. But
yep. I mean, so when I was working in the Hamptons, actually, my boss was really generous with his with the way he shared information with us. So we were able to he would like sit us down and be like, okay, like here's like a diagram of how we get our clients. Like here's who like this client came from. Here's who this client came from. And he would just really like kind of pull back the curtain of a lot of the marketing like strategies and a lot of just like in general like how the company works. And so I think that that's been really valuable. And I know that not all principals do that, but I think it's really important to try to understand like how the actual business functions, because obviously now I'm dealing with it personally and I'm trying to be as open with my employees about that as possible.
Yeah. Did they show you anything on like the financial side of the firm and like how to run the business, or was it more that BD networking to build those relationships?
Not as much. He did share contracts with us, so that was helpful. To get a sense of like, because I think when people are working on a project, understanding like what the relationship with the client is, like what our responsibilities to the client are, and also like what are we billing for it? Like it's just helpful to know when you're doing the work, like, okay, should I do this extra iteration or is this really not in the budget? And like I think in a small firm where you don't have like, somebody who oversees that and like dictates that, it's important for the actual person doing the work to understand it. So yeah, so it was kind of a mix. Like he didn't exactly like break down what the office costs and all the expenses were.
Yeah. Not a complete open door.
No.
But more than I've seen others.
Yeah.
So now transitioning to open up your own firm, I believe I read it was in 2016 that you decided to do that. How was that transition time? Because it sounded like it was more when you moved back to Brooklyn. Why did you decide to start your own rather than looking for a position at that time?
Yeah. So we had learned, my husband had learned that he matched with a fellowship in Brooklyn, which we were really excited about because we wanted to come back anyway. And so I knew like it was almost a year before I left my company in the Hamptons that I was going to be moving back to Brooklyn. So I had some time to kind of mentally prepare in general. And basically I told my boss at the time, like, in a year I'll be leaving and I want to start my own firm. I think I always kind of wanted to, was something, an aspiration of mine, but I also feel like, we were ready to start a family and I wanted some flexibility, and my husband's schedule is really rigid. He's a doctor. So it was like, one of us has to have some kind of give. And so I thought, okay, like, let me try to do some side projects and get something off the ground. Worst case scenario, like it doesn't work out and it's a total flop and I'll just get a job. But that was...
So you're doing the side projects prior.
And I did talk to him and he said, yes, that's absolutely fine. You could do your moonlighting as a way to... And he actually gave me a client, which was really nice. That actually ended up leading to my biggest first project that I ended up doing, a house in the Hamptons. So it was, it was kind of like a slow start. So I was able to continue to work while I set up like the PLLC and like the logo and all the things, the website, which didn't have anything on it, but it's just like little by little.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Started.
Exactly. So, that was the process. And then we moved to the city and I pretty quickly got my first big job, which was really exciting. But also at the same time got pregnant with my daughter. So it was like a really crazy time when I was like doing this very stressful big project and also trying to navigate, new parenthood.
Yeah. Because at that point the clock's ticking and then it's like two different schedules running.
It is. Yeah. But that's the downside too of the business, is when it's also your first baby in a way. So, when my daughter was born, I was like basically meeting with clients 2 weeks later with her like newborn next to me.
Yeah. Don't mind her. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was the first big project you got?
Right. So it was this couple whose apartment I ended up renovating in Manhattan when I was out in the Hamptons. They decided to build a house in the Hamptons, and that was kind of really exciting for me. It's just like ground up house, very high end, very beautiful. The clients had great taste. We had a very good working relationship at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So what types of projects do you work on within your firm?
So we're still doing mostly residential. We've done a few more commercial projects. We did a bar up in East Harlem. We did a dental office in Arizona, and we're doing, hopefully starting soon, a restaurant and also in East Harlem for the same client. But I would say the rest of it, mostly like 90% of our work is residential. And it's, everything from apartment renovations and combinations to brownstones. And then we also do additions. Not a ton of ground up work in the tri-state area. I am very lucky. My husband and I are building our own house right now in Brooklyn. And that is ground up. So that's pretty rare, but we were able to find a site with a falling apart little house that we tore down. But so I'd say it's all residential. It's really personal. It's a lot of working with, families and couples and really trying to understand how they live and how we can make it better. And then recently, so in 2019, I pursued a passive house certification, just, kind of looking around and seeing where the codes are going and where what is the best practice for construction these days. I learned about Passive House, I did the training, and now we're applying it to all of our, any project that has any facade work. We're applying Passive House principles, which is like really important to me.
That wraps up our episode on starting your own firm. Again, these were only 5, and it was really hard for me to pick the 5 that I could really talk about different parts of starting your own firm, between your emotional state, your mental state, and physically starting your own firm. So beyond checking out these episodes in their entirety, feel free to flip through the other episodes within season 1, because I have a lot of entrepreneurs all throughout season 1 that you can learn from and grow. And I know I've learned so much from everybody in season 1. So again, if you want to take a look at anybody from these clips, it was Gloria Kloter with episode 3, Chad Holler on episode 53, Hype Studio with Mike and Justin for episode 38, David Stumpf for episode 41, and we wrapped up with Jenny Peysin for episode 45. So hope you guys learned something on starting your own firm. And if you're thinking about it, feel free to check out their full episodes or reach out to them. They were so amenable to talking to me. I'm sure they would help you on your process as well. I hope you enjoyed our discussion today. Learn some advice to take with you and see how our industry is all tied together to create the world around us. Check out the description below for any links or resources we discussed. If you liked the episode, please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up and leave a comment below. It really helps others be able to discover this resource and support finding that career path that best works for them. If you know someone that has inspired your own career that you'd like me to interview, let me know in the comments below, or you can reach out to me via my website or LinkedIn. I'd be happy to share their story or your own. Thank you again, and I cannot wait for the next career story I get to share with you next week.